What's up, guys? It's been a while since I made a video. I know. I was planning on making some more this off-season, but I didn't have a lot of time, and honestly, there wasn't a ton to talk about. So, last video I made, I was just talking about, the good stuff going on this team right now. And I was going to make a video touching on some of the problems we were facing, but I never did make that video. Most people kind of already know what we're looking at anyway, but, tonight's the first round of the draft, so I figured I was obligated to do something now. In years past, I probably would have made a bunch of mock drafts. I would have really analyzed things. I would have come up with a list of players that I would have wanted to look at the number 26 pick. I didn't really study the mock drafts very closely this year. I just wasn't feeling it. Obviously, I have a rough idea of the kinds of players and some of the players that I want, but I didn't get into it quite like I have in previous years. So, real quick, off-season so far. Not a lot of big stuff. There were some talks, but nothing big happened. We signed Eddie Lacy. Okay, sure, why not? I mean, we got good running backs on this team that can't stay healthy. Let's add another one just in case. Because Procise is probably going to get hurt again. Rawls, who knows? Why not bring a dude like Eddie Lacy on? He can play reasonable football. Bradley, the safety from Tampa Bay, we brought him on. I really like that. We don't know what we're going to get from either safety spot this year, guys. Cam and Earl. Who knows? I want to say they're both going to do great this year. I feel like if Earl's healthy, of course he's going to be great, but you just don't know. And Cam, I think anytime now, he's going to fall off a cliff. There's just no way he can sustain that level of play the way he plays. Let's see here. Oh, Luke Yokel. Picked him up in free agency. Sure. Why not? Not much to lose. A lot of stuff to gain. You can easily argue he was just part of a shitty team with a shitty coaching staff that couldn't take advantage. Bring Luke Yokel on. Let's give him a shot. We lost Gary Gilliam in the last few days. Significant. Cannot be ignored. But at the same time, while it does kind of bum you out to lose a starter, we cannot sit here and bitch about how shitty our offensive line is, and we all do it, and then get upset when we lose one of our starting offensive linemen. Because Gary Gilliam, maybe he was one of the better ones, maybe he did some good stuff here and there, but he was part of an offensive line that was the worst in the league last year, and he's got to own that. And I didn't love anybody on the offensive line last year except for Justin Britt. Everyone else, take it or leave it. So I can't get upset about that, but it is a fierce indictment on this team that we are letting a starting right tackle who is like 25 years old, who started 30 games over the last 3 years, walk because we didn't want to pay a fairly small amount of money to keep him. We could have matched the offer from San Francisco. We chose not to. So that's about all that happened in free agency so far. We signed a special teams linebacker from Washington, which, great. Our special teams were not very good last year. Whatever we can do to improve that and get back to where we were a few years ago, awesome. 2013 special teams, near flawless. Let's get back to that shit. Now, the one thing that didn't happen this offseason that was buzzing was, of course, the Richard Sherman situation. And I could have made a video about that, really. That was the main thing I could have really made videos about this offseason. There was talk that he wasn't happy with the team. The team wasn't happy with him. We were trying to trade him. We made offers. We had discussions with New England and Oakland. We were trying to get a player and a big pick. We were trying to get this and that. Never really seemed to get very close to any kind of actual deal, which doesn't surprise me. I can't imagine any team in the league would want to give up what it would take to get Sherman, except for, like, Cleveland. And why does Cleveland even want Richard Sherman with the way their team is right now? So nothing happened, and at this point, it doesn't seem like he's going anywhere, and that's kind of what I expected. And I'll tell you what, part of me is thinking, like, trading Richard Sherman right now is what the Patriots would do. That's the kind of stuff that they do to stay on top. They trade Richard Seymour at just the right moment. They trade Deion Branch at just the right moment. And I was like, man, a team like the Patriots would have traded Richard Sherman for a big bounty, but I don't think the big bounty's out there, and while I understand the reasons why you would want to, Sherman's really good. He's a really good player, and he can be a good player for a few more years, so that is a marriage that I want to work to make work. I know maybe it's not perfect right now. I know that Pete Carroll, maybe he's starting to lose the locker room, but it would just suck to see him in another uniform. I'm not ready for that yet, so I'm glad it looks like he's going to stay, unless something really crazy happens tonight. I think he's going to stick around. If we give away Richard Sherman the way we gave away Percy Harvin, I will lose it on camera. I'll definitely do that, but not going to happen, it looks like. Okay. Draft tonight, we picked 26th. There's been talk of us trading down, a little talk of us trading up. So hopefully we don't trade all the way down out of the first round. I'm going to a draft party tonight with the Seahawks fans, and if we don't pick today, that would suck a little bit at least. I've heard we might trade down with Atlanta, in which case we would still pick in the first round, so that's fine, but there are 3 things I'm really thinking about tonight. Obviously, offensive line, defensive line, and defensive backs, particularly cornerbacks. Offensive line speaks for itself. We had the worst offensive line in the league last year. Luke Yokel could go either way. Lost Gary Gilliam. Hopefully Jermaine Ifedi gets better this year, but it needs to get better. The only position that we can feel fully confident in right now is center. Everything else can improve, and we're probably going to give Ifedi a fair shake at being the guy who can improve, but everything else, man, I don't have much faith in anybody. So Cam Robinson is a name that I've heard thrown around a lot. That would be great. Offensive tackle out of, I believe, Auburn. If he's still there, that would be really interesting. And I've seen some mock drafts where he does fall to us and we pick him. So if that's the case, bring it on. Defensive line. Look, defensive end is set. Michael Bennett has some good years left, probably. Cliff Averill has some good years left. Frank Clark is just getting started. Even Cassius Marsh is a good role player, but that defensive tackle spot, it kills me that we can't rush the passer from defensive tackle unless we move a defensive end down there. We need to get somebody like we had a few years ago with the guys like Tony McDaniel and even Brandon Mebane. Guys who can really just plug things up in the middle and push their blockers back. So if there's a defensive tackle there, I'm all over it. And cornerback, I mean, Jeremy Lane was up and down last year. Richard Sherman still pretty much in his prime, but it's got to start coming back down the other way eventually. And Shed, we re-signed him, which I was happy about, but we can't have any confidence about what we can get out of him this year after what happened to his leg in Atlanta last year. So, cornerback, I mean, Nico Thorpe can't go out there and start at the nickel for us, guys. If that happens, it's going to be a disaster. I can't have that. So, at some point, we're going to need some cornerback depth. And, you know, a safety wouldn't be horrible just because of the Earl and Cam situations, but that's not a super pressing need. I'm not desperate for that. So those are the 3 main things. Honestly, we can't really spend too much on it, but even like wide receiver. I mean, Lockett, who knows if he's going to be ready for the season. I mean, and who knows what he's going to be when he gets back. We have Doug Baldwin, but Jermaine Kearse just had the worst season, one of the worst seasons I've ever seen a wide receiver have without dropping 30 passes, so even wide receiver is not great. And I hate to bring that up right now because we have so many more pressing needs, but it's a thing if Tyler Lockett doesn't come back well. All right, that's about all I have for tonight. I'm going to hit a party tonight. I'll make a video about whoever we pick. If it's not one of those 3 positions, defensive tackle, offensive line, or a defensive back, I would be surprised and maybe not very happy, although this team has surprised me before. So, see you guys later. Go Hawks. And things are about to get interesting again.